Did The Simpsons predict the 2024 president election? Yes. And you're never going to believe who they predicted winning it all. We're a week removed from the election, and although it seems evident that Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States, technically nothing is official, especially with President Trump challenging all the votes. Still, it seems the writing is on the wall, so now we're setting our sights to the 2024 election. And what better way to try and determine who is going to win the next election than going through old Simpsons episodes and looking for hints or clues which may or may not give us the answers we're looking for. To no surprise, it seems yet again the Simpsons have predicted the future decades before it even happened. Now, considering how we're 4 years out from the next election, there's no way to confirm nor deny if the prediction is all that accurate until it actually happens. That being said, as of this recording, if what the media is saying turns out to be true, well, the Simpsons will be incredibly spot on with their prediction. Welcome back to LBQ, guys. Make sure you guys smash that like button, it really helps the channel out. But for now, we gotta get to the bottom of this one, so let's get right back into it. On March 19th, the year 2000, the episode Bart To The Future aired on Fox. It was the 17th episode of the 11th season of the show, and it's one of the episodes that, following Trump's bid for presidency, started to get a lot of attention. In the episode, a comment is made claiming that former President Trump caused a budget crisis that Lisa, the new president of the country, needs to deal with. Of course, this episode is one of the many that led to people claiming Simpsons writers are from the future, but it turns out the episode was created the same year Trump ran for president as an independent party. One of the show's writers, Dan Greeny, told The Hollywood Reporter, I quote, "It was a warning to America, and that just seemed like the logical last step before hitting rock bottom. It was pitched because it was consistent with the vision of America going insane." No one could have predicted that 16 years later, Trump would not only run, but would actually win the bid for presidential candidate with the Republican Party. Beyond that, no one thought he was actually going to win. Yet 4 years later, and here we are with Trump challenging the current vote count in hopes of staying in office for a second consecutive term. So how does The Simpsons come into play with all of this? Well, it seems evident that they somehow, some way knew Trump was going to be running for president in 2024 and will actually end up winning. The episode doesn't show him winning the election, but there is a very specific line that alludes to the fact that President Trump does win the election in 2024. The episode Bart To The Future takes place in the year 2030, and given that Lisa is president, that would mean that she won the election in 2028. As Bart is visiting his sister in the White House, you could overhear her talking with her associates as she says, I quote, "As you know, we've inherited quite the budget crunch from President Trump." Given that Lisa would have won in 2028 and is talking about the budget crunch she inherited from the previous president in Trump, that would mean that he won the 2024 election and left Lisa with a crumbling economy. I know it probably sounds absolutely insane, but when you do the math and really break it down, it seems once again the Simpsons have predicted the future decades before it even happened. Now, this prediction is yet to be determined, as we need to wait and see how things play out. As of now, if Trump were to officially concede and accept his loss in the election, he'd be able to run again in 2024, and given the fact that he has experience, which he didn't have prior to his first election, his chances of winning would likely be much higher. The show didn't predict who he would be running against, nor which party he'd be running for, but odds are if the past and present are any indication of the future, the man would remain Republican. So how likely is it that Trump actually does run for president in the 2024 election? Again, assuming he does officially lose to unofficial President-elect Joe Biden, it seems more likely than not. Multiple media outlets have reported that Donald Trump is already discussing a campaign for the 2024 election, a sign that he not only realizes but has accepted defeat. Although he's yet to outright do so, at least publicly, sources close to the current president are claiming he's seriously considering another run, especially given the fact that he feels the election is quite literally being stolen from him due to fraudulent voting. However, another very interesting point that needs to be highlighted is that The Simpsons appeared to not only predict the 2024 election, but also predicted the 2020 election. More specifically, users took to Twitter, sharing an image of the Electoral College from a previous Simpsons episode, comparing it to the one from our most recent election. At first glance, the cartoons version, which is from an episode that aired in 2012, seems almost identical to the current Electoral College outcome. It seems the only state which the show got wrong was Arizona, which they had red instead of blue. All the other states appeared to be identical to how things played out in the most recent election. But upon further examination, it seems the show got a few of the states wrong. Ohio and Virginia were red states in the election. However, they appear to be blue in the show. Still, considering how they got almost all the Electoral College votes right, at least the majority vote, it is incredibly impressive. And to no surprise, people on Twitter were freaking out, with one person even asking The Simpsons to predict the rest of their life. Going back to Trump and the 2024 election, assuming that he does concede sooner than later and congratulates Biden on his victory, I wouldn't be all that surprised if Donald Trump eyes a return to the White House in the next election. Given how his administration is pushing for recounts in numerous states and are under the impression that the election is being stolen from them, to no surprise, they'll want to redeem themselves any way possible. It's also important to note that Trump and Biden received more votes in a presidential election than any other candidate. Although Biden holds the record with the most votes, both men broke the previous record, with Trump clocking in just under 71.5 million votes and Biden receiving over 76 million. And as crazy as it seems for Trump to run again, given the support he received from the American people, it seems quite evident that the Republican Party would be more than willing to nominate him to lead their party once again. And aside aside from getting the confidence of the American people, the Republican Party may see Trump as their only option to win, especially considering the fact that potential 2024 GOP candidates have been quiet regarding the fraudulent voting claims currently being argued. Taking to Twitter, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out, "The total lack of action from virtually all of the 2024 GOP hopefuls is pretty amazing. They have a perfect platform to show that they're willing and able to fight, but they will cower to the media mob instead. Don't worry, at real Donald Trump will fight and they could watch as usual." Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, also chimed in regarding the fraud election drama, tweeting out, I quote, "If you want to win in 2024 as a Republican, I would probably start saying something, just saying." Clearly, if the American people feel the same way, or at the very least feel that Trump is one of the few politicians that are willing to stick it to the man, if you will, while other Republicans cower, then his chances of winning increase tenfold. This would also affect the likelihood of the Republican Party having faith in another candidate beating the Democratic nominee, especially in assuming it's either Biden or his VP Kamala Harris running for re-election. To put it in simple terms, regardless of what the Republican Party thinks, if the American people are under the impression that Trump is fighting a fraudulent vote system, while his peers in the Republican Party, who are potentially eyeing a 2024 nomination, sit back and don't fight with him, they likely won't have much confidence in said potential nominees running the country. This would just give Trump's chances of a 2024 bid to become even more likely. And quite recently, Trump's former White House Chief of Staff, Mickey Mulvaney, said, "I would absolutely expect the president to stay involved in politics and would absolutely put him on the short list of people who are likely to run in 2024. Now, I know Mick isn't a writer for The Simpsons, so we can't take what he said as the absolute truth, but odds are the man knows more than the average person, so I think it's safe to say all signs are pointing to Trump running again for president in 2024. So to wrap things up, did The Simpsons predict the 2024 president election? Yes, they did. Of course, we're gonna have to wait 4 years to determine if that prediction even comes true. But a good indication will come around 2022 when people will start to gear up for the next election. If President Trump does concede and goes on to run for president again in 2024, we may need to start looking at every episode of The Simpsons in hopes of planning better for the future. Until then though, let's continue just enjoying it for the great comedy it provides us on a weekly basis. Now as always guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one down below. Do you think it's all a coincidence, or are The Simpsons really onto something? Is Trump going to run again in 2024, or is he done with politics after this election, regardless of the outcome? Let me know down below all your thoughts on this one. For now, let's do some common replies from the video. Top 5 ways The Simpsons predictions could still come true. Terminator 156 said, "I'm getting scared, worried, and paranoid." As you should, because somehow, some way this cartoon is just always predicting things, and I know I've done videos being like they don't predict things and it's just a coincidence, but this is getting a little weird, so I'm a little scared, worried, and paranoid myself. Tyler Martin said, "I actually believe the 2028 Ivanka prediction." Hey, it's very possible. You know, Trump goes again in 2024 and then Ivanka 2028. It is totally possible, especially if he wins in 2024. 100% I could see that happening. Amor Abukora said, "I hope The Simpsons predict North Korea's regime collapsing, Kim Jong-un dying, and reuniting with South Korea, which will give North Koreans freedom." That would be great. That'd be great. I hope that happens too. I hope The Simpsons predicts world peace and everyone's happy and there's no disease and everyone's healthy. That's what I predict, so that'd be great too. Anyways guys, that's all for this one. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein, and we'll see you soon.